Well, hey, my name is JD Dorland. Welcome to my studio. Hey, these videos are primarily for my students, but man, I am happy you're here. Join me, and I hope you get something out of it too. Today's topic is bass lines, particularly thinking about five maybe ideas or five bass lines for the solo pianist. And this could probably go to just a bass player too, but kind of thinking of jazz pianists primarily, just because I teach piano. And I get students that say, man, what do I do with my left hand? What kind of bass lines, what kind of bass line ideas, right? And part of the expectation, I guess, in this is that you know your major scales. You should know all your major scales anyways. And also that you have a good, or at least a good idea of chords, right? Primarily at least sevenths with your majors, minors, and sevenths. So let's dive in. I got five ideas. First one is super easy. I give you two progressions. If you see over here, there's a little picture of what we're gonna kind of walk through. And there are two progressions. There's a 2-5-1 in the key of C, and there's a 2-5-1 in the key of F, just to give us maybe some context here, right? So first one, playing whole notes with the roots. This is the basic. Right? Can you play chords? We're talking, my right hand is playing chords, or it's playing improv, or it's playing a melody, any of those things. And we're primarily, again, kind of focusing on that left hand. What does it do? And we're saying bass lines, right? So let's maybe clarify just range, right? When you think of your piano register, think of like the middle C octave down to the G above middle C, right? Kind of in there. That's my primary kind of chordal range, right? It's not that I can't play higher, it's not that I can't play lower. It's just those get maybe tinnier or muddier the lower you go, the more notes you play together. That just seems to be kind of that happy range, right? And then bass line wise, think about that C below middle C-ish and lower as being your primary bass range. Talking for bass lines, right? And again, it's not that you can't come up higher. We hear bass players all the time that walk up, and it just gets a little bit thinner, a little more minimal sounding, I guess, as you get closer to that melody, almost more counter. Not that it's not a counter melody on the bottom, but it definitely has that bass feel, right, when it's down lower. So that's where we're going to kind of focus on. Think about that C below middle C-ish and below as my bass range, right? So back to the whole notes and roots. So here's an example. Just taking our chord in the right, left hand playing the whole notes, right? Here we go, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. That's all you're doing, just playing the whole notes. Now, if you want to, there's kind of a 1B, we'll say, before we get into this number 2. The number 2 talks about 2-feel or 4-feel, right? And if you don't know that, or you've maybe heard the term, a 2-feel just means you're playing something, bass-wise primarily on beats 1 and beats 3, right? So again, we're primarily talking about 4 beats per measure here. So I'm playing something 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, right? And so I could just double up what I did with my root and get that 2-feel. And again, that's a great place to start if that's kind of, you're just starting. That's where you're coming from. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is roots and fifths as half notes. So again, if I know my chord, D minor 7, for example, it's root 3, 5, 7. So I'm going to play that root 5, the G chord, root 5, the C chord, root 5, root 5, right? There you go. 2-feel, half notes on the bottom. I could use the root third. There's nothing wrong with that. Root 3, root 3, root 3, root 3, right? There's different variations to do around that as well, but just to kind of get your feet wet into this, think about the root 5 or root 3 as half notes. Now, what if you have multiple chords, right? Maybe you don't have 4 beats on a chord, and you're wondering, should I play the 5th, in the quarter note on beat 2, or, can I try to sneak it in? Yes, you could. There's nothing wrong with that. But I would say if you're trying to keep a good 2-feel, at least to start with, then just play the root and the root. Don't worry about playing root 5, and kind of trying to double in, fit it in. Again, you could do that. It disrupts that 2 feel a little bit. But, experiment with it. Play around with it. You might like that. But I would say, think about the root 5th on half notes to start with. All right, number 3, quarter notes up the chord tones, right? So playing the root 3, 5, 7 as quarter notes, just ascending, going up your keyboard. So my D minor 7, 1, 3, 5, 7, G7. All right, nothing too hard. Hopefully, if you've already played chords and at least root shapes, it works. Right? You're just not playing all at once. Just break them up and play them. So here's some chords, right? It works. It gives you 4 beats or 4 feel, that quarter note walking bass line. Or you can go back to that 2 feel, right? And have the half note, half note. Both of them are great. They both have their place. All right, number 4. So we're going to say quarter notes, ascending, descending. Still in that 4 feel because it's quarter notes on the bottom. And, we're just going to say within 5 keys. There's probably a better fancy name for it that I don't know. But kind of within 5 notes, 5 keys of each other. It's a very kind of compact bass line that's just nice up and down kind of thing. So here you go. You see the example with the same D, G, C progression. And you're going to see the numbers below that say that 1, 2, flat 3, 3. And really, I numbered these according to the chord, right? Not just the C scale steps. So going up my D minor, I'm doing a 1, 2, that flat 3, which is that minor third, to the actual third, landing on the G, which is my new root, walking down the flat 7, F, 6, 5, and then I hit my new root, C, walking up the C chord basically, or the C 5-note scale, and then walking back down. All right, so again, it's got this nice up, down idea, which all good melodies do, good bass lines do. So here you go, you can kind of hear it. Sounds good, right? It's a little bit more exciting than... But again, they both give me the 4 feel. There's nothing wrong with either of them. They both have their place, and definitely they both have their place as you're progressing and learning, getting more familiar with your chords and scales. All right, here's the 5th one, the last one we're going to at least kind of address today. And that is kind of the same idea, except now maybe extended into more of an octave feel, or an octave idea. So you see the same progression, and you're going to notice that it goes from flat 1 to flat 3, 3, just like before. But instead of coming to the root and going down, we're going to go up, go to the 2nd, the flat 3, kind of using this as a passing tone. There's my 3rd, to my new root of my C, and then again just walking down that C scale essentially. Right? So here's kind of in real time. Right? Nice. Here's chord. Great, right? They all work. It's again just knowing what's the feel you want. Do I want half-time feel, that 2 feel, or do I want the 4 on the floor, right? And all of it is related to my chords. All of it's related to my scales. Again, if you don't know your chords, at least the 7ths, minor 7ths, major 7ths, if you don't know those, you need to go learn those. You need to go kind of shut them out, get to know your chords well, as well as those major scales. They're all important. They all kind of come together, especially when you get into this improv stuff. And again, working, I tell students all the time, you're working backwards in your music, right? You're seeing the lead sheet, maybe that melody idea, and just chords, and they just expect you to know what to do. And this is part of it, right? This is part of these baseline ideas. How do I make a 2 feel sound? How do I make a 4 feel sound? And that's what we're trying to kind of just give you some ideas that are almost kind of just patterns if you follow the steps of that chord or scale, that I can apply it to anything else. All right. So let's just let's go back to 4. I'd like to do 4 and 5 real quick one more time, and just take the second progression so you can maybe see it in a different light of chords, right? So if I take that G minor 7, C7, F major 7 for 2 bars, I'm in the key of F, I have B flats, right? So if I go back to 4 and I kind of do this 5-note compact idea, I take my same idea, my root, 2, that flat 3, 3, here's my new root, come down that flat 7, there's my new root, just up those 5 keys. Alright, here's number 5 with the same idea, that G minor. So now I'm going to go up that whole scale basically, or at least all the way up to F, right? Works. Just think of the number of that chord, the steps, or that scale. That's kind of what you're applying these 1, 2, flat 3, 3s to. All right. So hey, I hope this helps. Hope it gives you at least some starting ideas on bass lines or what you can do, especially as a jazz pianist, a solo jazz pianist. Right? You're not getting to play with a bass player. You're stuck with that bass line. What do you do? And these are just some ideas. Obviously, the best way to go do it is just go listen to bass players and probably transcribe their lines. If you hear something cool, go figure it out. What are they doing? What are they doing on top of whatever chord it is? And take that pattern or that idea and just go apply it to some other chords, right? But this is, again, just a good, easy, generic way to think of just basic scale, basic chord ideas to come up with some bass lines. So, hey, thanks for joining me. If you got something out of this, I would love to hear from you. Comment below, or maybe you have a question, or even something else maybe you'd like to see tackled. I'd love to help you out if I can. So thanks so much for joining. We'll see you next time.